Hey friends. So, been writing a lot and thinking a lot this week about like yoga as a way of being, which is just such a big thing. And I feel like I just have thoughts about it all the time. So, I'm just gonna have a little walk and talk while I'm walking along the Mediterranean this morning. I feel like we get really wrapped up in practice, right? In like asana and meditation and pranayama and all these different ways of like really specifically practicing yoga. And then sort of inevitably we have this feeling of like, well, how do I expand this? Like, how do I feel like this more? You know, how do I apply this to my life? And the answer is you just do. You know, the sort of threefold practice of tantra, and you know, I'm always coming from that tantric perspective. But that threefold practice is specific practices, study, and life, daily life. Because it's a practice, it's a school of yoga that is designed for householders, which is, you know, basically means laymen, right? Like we're not living in a hermitage, right? We're not renouncing the world to study yoga. We're living in it. We're on a commute or taking a walk or taking our kids to school like I just did, or whatever we're doing, we're living and trying to practice. So what I want to just, encourage is to just consider life, daily life, as practice, right? So that whatever energy you bring to the mat, whatever energy you bring to meditation, or whatever your practice is, can you just sort of show up with that energy, with that mindset in the world, in life? Solid maybe, I think is probably the answer, right? At first, it's a practice. And so we're waking up and then checking in like you would at the beginning of a yoga practice, right? What's my body doing? What do I need to support me today? How do I want to show up today? Like, what's my intention for this day? Instead of thinking, you know, what's my intention for this hour? Although maybe you could do that too in your life, like you would in a yoga class. But like, what am I up to? What am I doing with myself? And that might mean waking up 5 minutes earlier. I'm going to be honest about that. But it seems worth it to me to be a little more intentional, to be a little more tuned in. I also want to speak to the fact that there are a lot of things in life, in the world, that are maybe like we don't want to feel connected to. We don't want to be tuned in to that. And that's where some of the spiritual bypassing of yoga land comes into play, right? The practice can be an excuse to turn away from that and to say like, well, I'm just cultivating from within. But that doesn't help anybody else. That doesn't make us free. That doesn't address any of the things that you don't want to look at, you know? And so instead of using our practices as an excuse or like a workaround to not think about those things. Let's acknowledge that our practices are preparing us for that. I'm getting hot. I'm going to sit down for a second. What if instead we consider that those like specific practices, our asana and our pranayama and our meditation practice, that's what's preparing us to be in this, with this discomfort, with this dis-ease that we're coming up against in the world, so that we can sit with it, so that we can really look it in the face, take in the context of everything that is, right? The truth of our existence, all of the beauty and all of the terror, to look at all of it at once so that we can address whatever's in front of us from that sort of whole perspective. That's what our practices are for. It's not just to make us feel better, although it also makes us feel good. And we should embrace and celebrate that. But it's also for freedom, right? Liberation in this body, in this lifetime, for ourselves and for everybody, because we're all... Anyway, this is what I'm thinking about, that we need to apply our practices to life, to daily life, approach daily life as a practice, and allow sort of the context of daily life, the context of the world we're living in, to be a part of our practice. And it might be, simmering in the background instead of right at the forefront of your mind, but still allowing, not trying to actively block it out, right? Allowing all of it to exist together. Because that's what yoga is, right? It's that union, that wholeness of all the parts of ourselves, of all the parts of our life, together. That's what I'm thinking about this morning. I wanted to share it with you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, your challenges, your discoveries about life as practice, about practicing in the midst of life. Just leave a comment, talk to me about it. Maybe we'll do this again soon. Yeah? Maybe we'll do this a walk and talk as a regular thing, because it's like we're having a little conversation. So let's do that. In the meantime, be well, be good to each other. See you soon.